Welcome back, Cracked fans, to another edition of the Cracked Interviews podcast. I'm your host, Alex Gruskin. As you can tell from our website, from our stream of content recently, the college tennis season is almost upon us. The fall results coming to an end right around now. I think a few more weeks still left, but we have our individual season in the books. We're ready to take our big takeaways as we look towards the 2020 team dual season. Obviously, on the Mini Break podcast every Tuesday, Matt Stakoyak, Chris Halioris, and myself have been breaking down last year's top 10 teams, going from 10 to 1 in Matt's College Contender Series to get you fans ready for this year's season. Now, joining me on today's Cracked Interviews podcast, because it is in the college theme, you may recognize his work from collegetennisranks.com, a former diehard Mississippi State Bulldog turned Liberty University Slappy fan. Of course, Chris Halioris, maybe making his second appearance on the Cracked Interviews podcast. Welcome back.
Hey, thanks, Alex. Former Mississippi State fan.
No, former Mississippi State Slappy. Former Mississippi State Slappy turned, Liberty Slappy. So just to clarify, you can only be a Slappy at once. But with Mississippi State in the air, that being the team we covered on today's Mini Break podcast, it is only fitting that I bring in today's guests. And again, a huge thank you to you, Chris, for helping to set this up. We have alluded to Mississippi State tennis a lot over the past 4 years with the run they have been on. And that is why we are so thrilled today to bring in the coaching staff of the Mississippi State men's tennis team. Let's start with head coach Matt Roberts, assistant coach Jacoby, and volunteer assistant Noah Tippen, all on the line for us today. Mississippi State coaching staff, welcome to the Cracked Interviews podcast.
Thanks very much. You got the A team tonight. We're happy to be here, and thank you for what you're doing for college tennis. It's our pleasure to be on with you guys tonight. And Chris, thanks for your support all the years, and you are still a Mississippi State fan and part of the family, I hope. And I know your boys at Liberty, but we love what you've done for us. So thanks for being on as well.
Oh, no doubt. And I'll be there.
Oh my God, the sucking up. Get it out of the way early, because that is not the way to the heart of our Cracked Interviews fans to suck up to Chris. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, look, we could turn this into a Chris roast session. There's a lot of different ways we could go with this podcast, but I just have to ask, because there was a recent, I think it was a tweet about the NCAA men's tennis social media statistics, and your Mississippi State Bulldogs for the 2018-19 season were the number one most social media interactions with every fan on tennis Twitter. How much of that do you credit to Chris?
Well, I mean, it definitely has something to do with Chris, but it's been a cool ride. The story of when I was working for Pear and then transitioned to become a head coach, then having Tanner with me, and then rebuilding the program and trying to get the culture right. And that whole process was really hard. It was the toughest thing I've ever done in my life. It almost made me not want to become a head coach, and I really doubted what I was doing at the time. And that, challenged me. And every day I'd have to wake up and look in the mirror and say, I can do this. And I focused on what I wanted to build and what made me want to enjoy this career, this job. And I stayed focused on that with Tanner. And we were able to get a really good group of guys, great character guys that I enjoyed working with every day. And with 7 out of 9 brand new freshmen making the Sweet 16, I think that kind of created this whole ride. And then the social media, kind of came after that. So that's I think what started it. And then obviously Trevor being on the team, Chris is Trevor's uncle, and then Chris got more and more into college tennis because of that. So yeah, just like a snowball effect, I guess.
No, it's a thing of beauty to see. One of my favorites, you talk about that culture, just to set the scene, because people who've caught glimpses, the way your team at the end of every match, for a home match, would shake the hands of the fans who came out to the event. Now, that speaks to a strong culture, and even beyond using that as a recruiting tool, how nice is that for you as the coach to have that be a reflection of where your program has been over these past 4 years, that sort of moment?
Yeah, I mean, it's the results are just like a small piece of the puzzle. It's about building men and about building a special environment that people want to come watch, and also players want to be a part of and learn and just enjoy. That was my number one goal when I had those guys leave after the first year is I want to build a culture where people want to stay here. I don't want to have any more transfers. That was kind of our reputation when I first got the job. And so with that, it was, focusing on creating an environment where a certain type of kid wanted to come in and just learn and build their own mental view of themselves and kind of build confidence in someone. And when you do that, the fans start to see it and they want to come and watch. And then after that, it's thank the fans for being here. Thank them for coming to watch you guys. I mean, that's what it's all about. And so after the match, we'd shake the opponent's hand. And I'd say, go over there and thank the fans. And so we wouldn't have our meeting for like an hour. We'd have the guys go thank the fans for at least an hour, and then we'd have our meeting after that. So we love playing in front of our fans at AJ Pitts Tennis Center, and someone started filming it, and then it got all over Twitter. So that's the story of that.
And for you, Coach Jacoby, who I think you're younger than me, so I'm just going to call you Jake. Coach Roberts can be Coach Roberts, but respectfully, I'm going to have to go with Yeah, exactly. But for you, Jake, I know you just finished up at Iowa, and I'm not saying, when you get an assistant coaching job, if that's your career path, you take it no matter where it is, but particularly for Mississippi State, what was it about that culture that Coach Roberts has built that appealed for you as you were looking, for various assistant men's tennis coaching jobs?
Yeah, obviously it sticks out as an unbelievable positive for being here. Me and Matt both are actually from Little Rock, Arkansas, so I've had a good relationship knowing him over the past, really decade. Me growing in my tennis, him with his pro career, and then him starting his coaching career. Really, developed a relationship there and just stayed in contact over the years, and really respected him as a player, as a coach, just in the tennis world altogether. His reputation is one of, a very hard worker, and demands a lot of good things and brings about good qualities in people. And so it's not as a massive surprise to me that his program that he's built here at Mississippi State, even when he was an assistant and working to be the head coach here, has developed such a strong culture of such a family vibe, a team vibe that, when I was given the call by him and the opportunity to possibly join the staff here, it was really a no-brainer just because of all the positive reputation things I've ever heard about Matt and then the program here. So, to be given the opportunity to be a part of that and then to try to grow it and have my own impact on it was pretty much a no-brainer. So it was, very easy for me.
So Alex, I don't know if Matt knows this. I know Jake knows this because I told him this earlier in the year when we were chatting online a little. But the very first national tournament I ever took Trevor to with one of his buddies, Cole Fiegel, who was a couple years older and graduated from Georgia Tech a few years ago, was actually at Ken Burns Park in Little Rock, Arkansas, and one of Trevor's friends played Jake in like the first round, and I think Jake was seeded one of the better junior players back then, and so I had known his name from then all the way, and that was I think Trevor was 13 at the time back then. That was the first national he'd ever gone to.
Did you notice the subtle dig, Jake? How he goes back then, one of the top junior players back then. Typical Chris.
I'm making Jake sound older now.
Yeah, well, I like to sound old right now. I look a little bit older and act older.
So Matt, I know obviously one of the things that you guys have never had there, and you've got coming now, is an indoor facility. So tell us a little bit about what's going on there.
Yeah, so we've raised $4.5 million, and we were playing Ohio State a couple years ago at the NCAA tournament. We had a few guys fly on a private jet with our Bulldog Club, and they saw what we were doing, and they said, you know what, we need to help these guys out. So I think the first gift was $1 million from one person out of Jackson, Mississippi. And, positive peer pressure. They started saying, all right, well, I gave $1 million, you got to give this and that. We got a lot of momentum after that run. And once we had $4.5 million, then the athletic department kicked in the rest. So we have an $8 million facility due in April. they're supposed to lay the concrete in the courts around December. So it's really cool. Every day we go out there, and there's so much progress with each day. I'd say the steel was put up way quicker than we thought. We'd go to the courts and just go, guys, look at it. I mean, it's going up. So we're pumped. Scheduling for that has been fun. We have a lot of good teams coming in, a lot of home and homes with Florida State, TCU, SMU, Memphis. I'm probably forgetting a couple, but we're definitely planning to have an indoor season in the next few years. So it's exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. I know I got the chance to see you guys in Chicago last year, and I say this lovingly, but I'm sure you'll appreciate the chance to get a few more indoor reps before a national indoors events. I'm sure that
was a great learning experience for us, and national indoors always is for us. I mean, you play some of the best indoor teams in three days in a row, and you're definitely just trying to get better as the tournament goes on. And our guys, stayed so resilient that most teams could have just backed down after the first 2 days. And we just stayed positive, kept trying to learn, having that growth mindset of, all right, let's keep getting better. In day 3, we played Notre Dame, and we got better as the weekend went on and played a great match against them and got a win. And it's a weird facility there with 2 and 4 and 3 and 3. You don't feel like a team sometimes. And, we love the 6 court in a row team dual match format. The vibe in there is we like 6 in a row so we can see everyone kind of play as a team. But yeah, it was fun. We enjoyed. We had a nice, a couple nights of snowball fights and all that good stuff. So it was a fun weekend.
What does that new indoor is the indoor facility 6 across?
Yeah, 6 in a row. So we'll have upper level viewing on one side, 6 in a row, and play set on every court. We'll eventually build it out underneath with a satellite training room, fueling station, and a conference room.
Yeah, that sounds like an ideal setup. I love that. And as much as I do want to talk about, the past run your program has just been through, how that sets you guys up for the future, our College Contenders Series does focus on this season, this 2020 upcoming dual match. I know you just played out a fall season, and as we talk about in the mini break, guys like Gregor, guys like Flo, guys like Gio, who comes in ranked, they've all had good falls, but for your team, you lose a core 4. And so coming into the year, I guess, how do you reset? How do you, when you have such a young team, approach a season after the 4-year run that you just went on?
Well, recruiting is a huge piece of the puzzle. Obviously we're trying to find the best players in the world, the most talented, proven that they can play at this level. But, for us, it's finding the right type of guy, a guy that can handle school well, because I think school is the first piece to the formula. If you're doing well in school, you're managing your time well, then you're going to be able to grow on the court. And so, we're looking for those guys that we trust in that area. And then the second piece is someone that can, love their teammate, day to day, put themselves to the side and, understand accountability. Peer to peer, I think, is way more powerful than a coach to a player. So we set up, certain things throughout the week and the month and the season where, I have the guys speaking to each other, and I facilitate the conversation. But I want them to give each other feedback as much as possible. And I want them to understand that they have to hold each other at a high standard, for us to do well. It's their team, and they have to learn how to push each other, how to train with each other, how to compete with each other, travel together. All those things, and they have to enjoy that process or we're not going to have fun. And so you have to find that in the recruit, and then you got to teach them how to feed the positive dog and control their self view, their thoughts. We obviously are all humans here. We have insecurities, we have positive and negative thoughts, and so I think a big step for them when they come in is to learn how to focus on what they can control to build confidence in themselves. And if you can get the right type of guy that understands that and wants to commit to that, you can get guys competing at a high level. And then when you have a group of those guys doing that, you have a contagious competitive culture. So everyone kind of feeds off each other, and you see guys competing, you see guys, kind of surprising themselves and what they can do on the tennis court. For example, we have a freshman from Italy who had a great regionals. He beat some really good players, some ranked players, and he kind of surprised himself. Gregor Ramscholar winning regionals. He played, 6 and 7 for us last year, and he's just a result of all these things I'm saying. He's living it, and so we're a young team, and we brought in some guys, but they're all understanding that they can be good. And so it's been a lot of fun this fall. New coach Jake's doing a great job, and Noah's doing an awesome job. So we're having a lot of fun, kind of going through phase 2, second cycle of this program. So it's been a lot of fun.
So continuing on there, Matt, why don't you tell? So you talked a little bit about Dade there having a little run at regionals. Why don't you? We all know Flo, Gregor, and Gio. So why don't you give us a little insight into the other freshmen we got coming in?
Yeah. So right now we have 3. We have Dade from Italy, Nico from Canada, and Isaac from New Zealand. And we were on Dade pretty early. Had the connection from Giovanni, and we're lucky to have him. He didn't speak to too many coaches just because he was shy, and we built a relationship with him early. So anyway, he's done a great job acclimating to, college tennis, hard court. It was hard for him at first to take a return early. It's hard for him to trust holding the baseline, but he's learned quickly. It's amazing if you can get the right type of guy and just pour into him the improvement. And he's showing a lot of improvement. He were playing regionals, and he didn't even know that he had to call his own lines. And so we had the first match chaired, and he's not making a line call. And we're going, is this guy is he nervous? Does he just not know what's going on? And he went through the whole match not making a call, but luckily the umpire just assumed they were out. And then the next day, someone told him, you have to make your own calls. And he was like, that's why the umpire was not helping me out much yesterday. He just, so he's just learning little things like that. It's pretty funny. Yeah, it's like day to day, his English, it's hilarious, So, no, but he's an awesome guy. I mean, he'll come out and serve on his own, we practice Saturday morning at 9. He'll be out there at 7:45 serving on his own. He's just a grinder. So he's doing a great job.
And you mentioned those little things such as line calls, but obviously for you these past 4 years when you have a group like Nuno, Trevor, Nick, and Strawley day in, day out, they know what you expect of them. They know the minutia of a practice with you. If they cross line, I almost swore there, but I don't want any push-ups, but they know to expect push-ups should they do things like that, the 6 a.m. workouts. And I'm sure, not that you would because this is in your personality, but you probably didn't have to coach them as much their last 2 years as you did those first 2 because they knew what was expected of them.
Yeah, but you'd be surprised, I'm not going to say anything bad about Trevor because his uncle's on the podcast.
Oh, come.
But I mean, it's everybody thinks, life is so good when you have these seniors, but you have new challenges. If one of those guys dips in practice, I'm all over him. We're running, or I'm kicking him out of practice. You got to do it. You have to come to work every day sharp as a coach. You can't dip. You can't just take a couple of days off because they're going to look at you and go, "What? Well, coach is loose today. He's taking today off, so I'm going to take the day off." I mean, it doesn't matter if you're a freshman or a senior. You got to set the standard early, and you got to hold it. You got to hold them accountable. And we had, as we got better and better, we had some of the hardest years of those 4 years. I'd say the easiest year was their first year, because everything's just, it's like a bonus, and then you get to the point where you're expected to do this, expected to do that. And so every year has new challenges. And so, this year was, it's very exciting to have an opportunity to continue that culture, but also it's kind of let's say, you broke up with a girlfriend, you learned a lot from it, and you meet another girl and you're like, okay, I learned from the last one. I want to make sure I set those standards now early in the relationship because I realized what I put myself into. So it's kind of that same thing. You get a chance to get these freshmen in and start as soon as possible, not cracking the whip. That sounds a little tough, but, hey, this is unacceptable. and you're way more prepared with this young group because you just lived it with 4 years of these guys. So I think we've probably had the most successful fall in terms of growth and development and just accountability than, any of my years as a head coach. So it's been really cool to, work with Jake and Noah and, have that opportunity.
So you beat me to the question there, but this idea, you lose 4, you have 3 upperclassmen in Strawley, who's really the only guy with a bunch of match experience. I guess Flo as well, but then another guy in Stedman Strickland. And okay, that's a fair point. It's a different coaching challenge as a team like that gets older, but I'm sure when you snap at Nuno in year 3, you don't have to worry about, oh no, is he going to be particularly sensitive today? Because that trust is there, that established we know what to expect of one another, or maybe, it still was a thing. I don't know. But the idea that for this year, you don't just have 4 seniors who know the deal, who can set a culture from the top to bottom. You have a younger team, and I'm curious what sort of challenges that presents, because you have, how are guys like Gio, Flo, Stedman stepping up into the leadership void, and then B, how you kind of mentioned it there, but it's a whole new set of doubles plays, right? It's a whole new set of trying to figure out who plays 1 through 6. How do you approach those challenges as you enter this fall?
Yeah, I think with the freshmen, these guys are, their character level is unreal. Like they see things and they quickly learn. So I almost feel like I'm coaching juniors or seniors, even though they're freshmen. I mean, these guys are really sharp. They love tennis. They are really good in school. And so I really don't feel like we have a lot of freshmen. I just feel like we got to get better. It's just like that nonstop paranoia of like, we're not good enough. We got to get better. And we all kind of have that feeling because we're all drivers. Like we all have to just like push ourselves every day because we want to succeed. And we do have to get better. And that's every year. Everybody gets better. So we have to keep pushing each other. But, I think I really don't feel like I'm coaching, a whole new team. I feel like we've been together for a long time. The culture, the family environment, we're very accountable with each other. So that's been a great, transition. Doubles is tough because you're constantly evolving. We're recruiting really hard for January, so we're going to get some more guys in here. And it's just like, you can't say like, hey, you're going to play with this guy for the whole year. It's like, look, we're going to all learn how to play doubles at a high level. And then you may play with him, you may play with the other guy. It's like, just be open to anything. You return on the deuce right now, but you may be an ad court return in the spring. So, just being open to learning and just evolving. And it's been a lot of fun. And Gio stepped up. He's come a long way. Jake could probably speak more on Gio because Jake's been with him a lot this fall. It was a big piece of the puzzle is if I can get Jake and Gio clicking really well, then that helps us in the dual match format. So Jake could probably say a few things about actually him and Flo. Jake was with Flo this last weekend at SMU, so he's done a great job developing those guys.
Yeah, really, I think, with those guys, and even I'll include Gregor with that, all of the returners from last year have really stepped up in leadership roles, whether it be on the court, off the court, with results, in practice, emotionally, whatever it is. You're seeing it with Gregor winning regionals, really stepping up, even having to grind through 3 setters in qualifying of regionals and then finding a way to win the entire event. Pretty good story there, and just being a great leader by example. Really, every time he steps on the court in practice and in matches. Then with Flo, I think he's really stepped up his mental toughness this fall. He's always really had the physical and technical ability there, but he's done a great job of really stepping up, and it showed this past weekend in a strong event in SMU where he won his flight without dropping a set against some pretty high-level players from different schools that we don't typically play. I think, Stedman, too, goes without saying. He's kind of the central rock for this team, to be honest. He's an emotional support guy. He comes to work and battles every day in practice. He's really stepped up his doubles game. I think, he's made strides both with his tennis in practice and doubles and singles. And, I think he's surprising himself with probably his best fall as a player in college. So, it's inspiring to himself, but also the guys seeing how he's working his butt off. I'm going to not give myself 10 push-ups there, but, and really inspiring the guys there. But then, yeah, I did spend a good amount of time with Gio this fall. He's obviously a super talented guy and wants to be the best player in college tennis. He's got goals that are very high and set standard for himself that are very lofty, but it really showed with me with him in Tulsa for All-Americans how, he lost the first set in every match he played. Still found a way to make the quarterfinals, really grew as a person, as a player, as a, mental, from being mentally a little bit challenged in those situations to sort of embracing it even against top 30 ranked players and coming through pretty comfortably in the second and third sets in a lot of those tough situations in big matches. So really had a good time with him this fall. And you've just seen a lot of the returners step up in many different ways. So it's been really cool to be a part of.
10 push-ups, coach, by the way. I heard that Tuchus reference.
I went halfway. I'll do 5. How about 5?
It just doesn't seem like much of a deterrent, especially to someone like Flo. The guy could probably do like 200 push-ups straight.
That's true. He probably wants to do the push-ups.
Yeah. All right. So before I get to the next serious question, since Jake gave a good little intro on Stedman there, I have to know, has he washed the hat yet?
I don't know. Noah, you probably know more. Noah's kind of Noah does a little bit of everything. Noah does anything from waiting rackets and stringing to probably like giving him a new hat if he needs it. He's been wearing that thing for a long time now.
And that thing's rock hard. The guy, I don't think he's ever washed the hat. I don't think he's ever planning on it. It's pretty crispy. Doesn't smell great, but it works for him.
Oh man. So Jake, obviously you're a couple years removed from Iowa now. So does it seem like it's, you're a lot closer to these guys' age? What's the easy part and what's the hard part of trying to connect with these guys and at the same time, give the discipline and get the respect, and not have these guys looking at you like, hey man, you're just 2 years older than I am.
Yeah, well, it's sort of funny. So I believe it was my sophomore year. No, it might have been my junior year. But for kickoff, Iowa played Mississippi State, and I played 6 singles. But I remind Nuno and Strale every single day. I played them in doubles, and the result went my way. So, if there's one way to gain respect, it's to beat Nuno and Strale in doubles. The next year they became number 1 in the country. So, that's a nice little thing I'm going to hang my hat on for a while. But no, I think that's a great question. Yes, I connect with them well in terms of social media, in terms of things they're interested in and other things like that. Having teammates from other countries, whatever it is. But at the same time, one of my goals in the first month of coming here and meeting all the new guys and everything was establishing this, this relationship was, I'm not their friend. We're not going to go, hang out on weekends and drink beers or whatever it is. We've got a professional relationship. We're friendly, but we're not best friends. It's sort of a fine line between, being able to discipline them if something happens, being able to be hard on them in a match and practice if they're doing something wrong. But at the same time, once practice is over, we're friendly with each other. We crack jokes, whatever it is. We've got a great relationship built on trust. I hope they feel like they can come to me and talk to me about anything going on in their life, whether it's tennis related, class related, girlfriend related, whatever it is.
Wait, let's go back for a second. I've never even seen you drink a beer, so why would you have that idea?
That's true. I'm not a big drinker, so actually,
I don't think any of our guys drink a beer. I don't think Nuno's ever had a beer. So
there you go. That's true. But so I can't connect with them there. But I think that's kind of what my goal in the first month or two was, and I think we've done a good job of that. So,
and I think Jake's done a good job, kind of easing into it, but just he's got a calm presence on the court that, has allowed him to he's like calm and confident. And I think that's what they need, like we always have to be calm and confident. If we want to get our message to them during a tight situation, like you have to appear confident, and they look at you with that body language and they go, okay, well, coach is confident, so let's hear what he has to say, and Jake does a really good job, like throwing in a nice, a few little points in there for them to build off of. And so does Noah. Noah's like really, smooth with his delivery. And so the guys, they gravitate towards that. They don't feel like a coach is going to come into their court and distract them or interrupt them or build the anxiety up anymore. It's like Jake does a good job with that. So I think he's transitioned really well with them. And he doesn't come off as a 23-year-old. Like he just comes off as a really confident coach. And, some of them didn't realize he was 23 for like two months. So,
That's what the summers of Iowa will do to you. You grow grizzly and old.
It's true.
No, but you talk about building that trust. To me, trust is most epitomized in college tennis, probably in doubles, right? Because you have three separate teams. You're all next to each other, but you have plays you want to run across the board. And for you at Mississippi State over these past couple of years, Coach Roberts, that's been a staple of your success. And part of that comes with continuity, right? Guys like Nick, Trevor, Strawley, and Nuno have been playing together for 3-4 years in some cases. So you build the trust between them as a partnership, but also the trust with your system of doubles. And just to elaborate, and you don't have to give it all away, but how do you build that trust on the doubles court? How do you start implementing, your systems, your plays with these kids who haven't had experience playing doubles with one another before?
Well, it's a combination of a lot of individuals with the guys, and also just day-to-day team practices where we're holding them accountable for their effort, their focus, and if they're not focusing or going 100%, we're running. We're doing, we call them 4-over and backs, and so it's just like you do that day in, day out, and it gets to the point where we're not running as much, and we're building that trust that we're all competing in practice, we're all focused, that you go into a dual match very confident in each other. And that's just part of the system we implement. And then the individuals, I'd say Nuno and Strawley were never a team that we thought could be number one. I knew they could be good, but we had to put them at number one. When I split up our 1 and 2 team, I wanted to put an older guy with a younger guy. So I had Trevor, take one for the team and go down to 3. And he embraced it. The type of guy he is, he said, I'll do whatever we need to do, coach, and I'll play 3 with whoever you want me to. And that helped us with some depth. And I told Nuno and Strala, you guys got to play 1 and we're going to get better and you're going to be fine. And we did a lot of doubles individuals. Everyone is good at something. And so you got to figure out what you do well in the doubles court. If you're not a serve and volleyer, don't serve and volley. What are you good at? And so we just clearly explained to them what they're good at. And then we ran some plays and we just did a lot of reps until they started getting confident in each other. And then they ended up being a pretty good number 1 team. So, it takes a lot of hard work. You got to have a plan and you just got to stick to it. You got to push each other and good things are going to happen.
Is there a serve you're going to miss more than that Nuno kicker out wide?
Hey, Strawley would say his is better, but, Nuno could actually move around the box. Strawley really only had a kick because of his toss, but
the toss 3 feet behind his head.
Right. Strawley would say Nuno's going to miss me cleaning up the net when Nuno serves.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I mean, watching Nuno hit the kicker out wide and sit on a forehand on the ad side was the singles play of the past 3 years. If you were like to write out the college tennis classic play, that would be
Stay
it.
back and rip a forehand. If it's short enough, get in behind it. If not, just keep ripping, They've come a long way. They're still here. They're 5th years for us. They're doing an awesome job day in, day out, just going to work. It's going to be fun to see Nuno's pro career take off. And then Strawley's either going to get a master's or start a pro career as well. So he's trying to figure that out. But no, it's been a fun ride with those guys. But we're pumped about these youngsters.
And with that team in mind, I will want to ask about your memories in a moment. But with this team for 2020, we talked about it on the mini break again. In terms of the SEC, you guys have won the postseason tournament the past 2 years. Obviously, you've had a ton of success in the conference, and that's where it all starts. You win your conference, you get to the postseason tournament, you do well there, you earn an NCAA seed, and on and on and on. For your team, it's a young team. A lot of them haven't experienced an SEC season, and you have a returning Florida team that brings back almost everyone. South Carolina, Tennessee, Texas A&M. For you guys, how do you see your team competing in that SEC conference, and do you think that level of play will continue to benefit you guys, even with it being such a young team?
Mm-hmm. Well, it's a good question. It's like I can't predict the future. All we can do is control what we can control, and that's helping these guys just compete at a higher level. When you step on the court, everyone's got insecurities, and we're trying to just help these guys, combat those things with controllables like strategical game plans, understanding your opponent's weaknesses, building, that we say feed the positive dog, just going out there and just pumping themselves up with positive statements. And if we can continue to do that well, who knows what's going to happen? We just take it one day at a time, and we try to have a lot of fun in that process. And it's just constant accountability with them, just reminding them that it's all about getting better. It's all about the process of improving. And if you can eliminate that fear of failure, if you can eliminate that, how good are we going to be? And are we going to succeed? If you can eliminate that and combat that with those things that we can control, good things are going to happen, And so I don't know the answer to that question, but I do know we're having a lot of fun growing and learning as a team. And we're excited about the future for sure.
So Matt, as we had talked about, we just did our preview, and I know you can't predict the future, but I'll give you the early preview into where Stakowiak and I landed, which was and get your take here. So we both say that top 5 is rough, but that's right around that 6th spot in the SEC is probably the kind of a good mark for where you're shooting. And we agree.
That sounds great. I love a challenge, Chris. You tell me something I can't do, and I love to be motivated by that.
Exactly.
After my first year, I lost those guys, and I went up to my athletic director's office for my end of the year meeting, and I walked by one of the associate AD's office. He said, man, how are you going to do next year? You did great this year, but I hear you got a lot of guys leaving. And I said, you know what? We're going to do better next year. And he looked at me like I was crazy, but I just love a challenge. I love waking up every day and just going for it, man, pushing everyone around me. And I like people that doubt us. I like people that doubt me. I like when people just don't think we're going to do well. I just love it. And so when you say, what did you say? 5, 6?
I said the top 5's tough.
Top 5 or 6. Okay.
So the only
have to put some push-ups on that, Chris.
No, yeah, I think my view is really there's just two teams up top, and after that it's fair game. So anything can happen. And what I told these guys.
I'll be honest, the SEC is I just love all the coaches we have in the conference. Everyone's working really hard. You go top to bottom, it's just an awesome conference, and I'm really happy for, Florida and Tanner and what he's doing with Brian. It's just really cool to see how hard he works, and a similar idea of just really pouring in these guys and trying to build them up. But yeah, I mean, I respect a lot of these coaches. We're all, working hard here. So it's an honor to be coaching in this conference, and Mississippi State is just an amazing place. I love working here. I love John Cohen and his vision for our athletic department. Dr. Keenum's doing a great job as the president. Mississippi State's growing. It's just crazy to be here and see the apartments going up, the dorm rooms, the indoor tennis facility. It's an awesome time to be a part of Mississippi State, and I'm just very happy to be in this conference, coaching and doing a job I love. So, I wake up every day very, very fortunate.
I like it. We will keep this bet in mind.
Yeah, what do you guys have? But prior, I haven't seen the schedule, Matt. Prior to the ITA kickoff, the weekend, what's the what dual matches do you have in January before that?
We have a 3-year deal with Florida State. We are at Florida State this year. Then we're at Lake Nona in 2020, and then 2021 they're at our place. We have, Tulane and Texas Tech. We had a 3-year deal with them, and we're in year 2 of that. We're at home versus them. We got a few matches like Stanford, UAB. Let's see, what else do we have? That's it. Kickoff weekend at home is going to be a great weekend. We got Oklahoma, Georgia, and South Carolina, the SEC battle. Josh and Manny wanted to come to Stark Vegas and compete with the Dogs. So, we're pumped. It's going to be a great weekend. Manny and Josh are doing a great job. Nick's doing a great job at Oklahoma. So we're expecting an awesome weekend.
Yeah. And look, we are looking forward to that kickoff weekend as well. But you talk about the SEC. I want to ask you a couple more questions, and I swear we'll get to our final rapid fire segment. But for you guys last year, obviously the end of a special run, to get that postseason SEC title for the second year in a row, the way you guys did it over Tennessee in the final, that tough match with South Carolina as well. How much did that mean for you personally, Coach, to not only back up last year's result, but to give that for your senior class, to have them go out in that fashion?
Well, yeah, winning was great, but I think the best part of that season was just teaching them how to deal with, pressure and stress, because they're going to have to deal with that in life after college tennis. We had a lot of expectations, and, I just wanted to teach them that, we have certain periods of our life where we have more stress. And I say there's no such thing as stress. You can actually put that in the cup. It's actually thoughts of stress, stressful thoughts, and you can control those by certain things, like whatever. School, you can make to-do lists. When it comes to tennis, you can control how hard you work, when you work, what you're doing each day. And so it was a really cool year for us to embrace that challenge and just learn as a team how to deal with it in the most mature, fun way. And for us to, we lost to Florida at Florida, and then we go back to Florida hoping to play Florida if we had that chance. And we didn't get to play them, but we won the tournament, and it was just a very good reward for those guys to get through that, tournament, and then get to host the Super Regional. And then TCU played really well and took us out at home. But just that whole year was really fun to learn how to work with that stress and that pressure. So I think we learned a lot, and it was a great year for the team.
You brought it up, so I get to ask. That match against TCU at home, round of 16, you have seen a lot of tennis in your life. Would you say if you could replay any match from your history, it would be that one?
I don't know. It is what it is. It's like,
come on.
I don't think winning and losing is that big of a deal. I think they were the better team that day. They handled the adversity better than we did. We had some rain delays. I think I would have probably had my guys take some naps and really, rest up. I wish I could have controlled that a little bit better, because they all went to their apartment and probably relaxed. But TCU, I think they went to the locker room and just turned the lights out and took a nap for an hour and a half, 2 hours. I think they just came out fresh, ready to go. So, I could have, looking back, I wish I would have handled that better. I think we had a great crowd. I think, it was just a buildup of this pressure of we should win, and, we're on track to do this and that. And I think, I could have done a few things to handle that a little bit better, but, TCU, they played great. Dave did a great job with the season and that match.
Yeah, but to have that happen and then to rebound with both Gio making the NCAA singles semifinals and Nuno making a finals, obviously that's a credit to their resilience. But how did you get them back in a place to where they can have that sort of success?
We had a bad taste in our mouth. It's I wish every one of my guys could have played the NCAA tournament. We didn't want it to end that way. It was pretty heavy, it was over. Those guys did so much for our program, and then, we were just, it was tough in the locker room after that match. But I just told the guys, we didn't focus on the loss at all. We focused on everything they've done, the legacy they're leaving, and then the guys that were continuing to play, you have a chance to continue to get better at tennis. Like, you have a chance to continue to grow and represent Mississippi State. So, man, let's go for it. So we went down to the Lake Nona, and I think everyone was really driven and focused to play as long as they could. They didn't want the season to end. So, you know, we had an awesome run. It was so much fun that week. So I was really proud of the guys.
Yeah, it was a pleasure to watch, and I know, you know, as fans of college tennis, as close as we've been fans at Cracked Racquets over these past couple of years, that team was a staple, so it was great to see their run through college tennis. You know, Trevor being Chris's nephew, obviously, there are some questions there we'd love to ask, and we are going to fold those questions into a segment we like to do with all of our guests. It's our rapid fire segment. More so, a lot of questions your way, then you need to give out quick answers, but it's the last thing we like to do. Give our listeners one more chance to get to know our guests a little bit better. But sound good, Coach Robert? Sound good, Jake and Noah?
Sounds good. They can answer it before I can, right? They can jump in if they want, right?
Sure.
I like it. That works with me. But Westoff, before we begin, give me a rapid fire sound effect, please. Okay, I want to start here. I do have a Noah section of questions, so these are for you. Noah, the amount of rackets per week you restring?
I would say
Rapid.
25.
That is ridiculous. And what would you say is the most frequent string tension of the rackets you're stringing?
String tension, I would say about 23 kilos right now.
And that translates to what, like 55, 54?
51 or so, yeah.
Still too tight. I want them in the 40s.
So I have to ask, string tension, that's a thing, like in the 40s?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
It depends on the player. I mean,
yeah, I guess you guys are good.
You can go with controlling it, with being able to control it. That's, I mean, as low as possible.
Tight string pattern with full poly. I mean, you got to be in the 40s if you want a heavy forehand. But, you know, maybe you don't want a heavy forehand.
I do not want a heavy
You
forehand.
just want the backhand to feel good.
So here's a follow-up, Mags. The number of rackets you strung for Tennessee when they showed up last year.
Oh, my God.
Now, that's a good story. That's a good story.
So Tennessee, from Wednesday night to Friday morning, I had 40 rackets for Tennessee. They came in with 17, I think maybe some 18 gauge strings. I think Prata he broke 23 strings while he was there, something insane like that. I mean, I couldn't even.
He was playing with 18 gauge, and then later when we saw him at SECs, he was actually playing with 15 gauge. Yeah. So I think he realized that wasn't working out for him.
But yeah, Wednesday night until about 2 a.m. Went to my 8 a.m. class, and then after that, all day Thursday into Friday morning. And I never got off the stringer for those 3 days. My fingers were pretty much bleeding.
You paid for a few dinner days for your girlfriend.
Yeah, that's true.
That is
pretty nice payment.
No, that is just ridiculous.
All right, I know we have some questions centered on that senior class that just graduated. Some funny ones, some you can choose not to answer. But let's start with an interesting one. Do you think Nuno's top 5 men's college tennis player of all time?
Yes.
Around the board, yes. Jake, you played in that time frame?
Sure. Yes.
Yeah.
And human being and student athlete, yes.
Chris, would you agree?
Oh, for sure.
Top 5's a lot. I mean, yeah, he was outstanding. All right, let's do another one. Who of that group got the most pole runs last year?
Oh, last year? I was going to say 2 years ago was a Swede named Arvid Nordquist, but Arvid had 8 pole runs in six days, I think. He's still on my phone. God. Yeah, last year, who had the most pole runs? I could look at my phone right now a lot of times. But I think last year was probably it was an even,
nobody really stood out.
2 or 3 for everyone. I mean, it wasn't, wrong uniform here and there, late to a tutor, but it wasn't last year. It wasn't a big deal. We'll just say Trevor, just because it's Christmas.
I feel like it just must be
I think
relief.
Trevor in like 1 in 4 years.
Yeah, like Strally. I feel like there's no way Strally comes to anything other than 5 minutes late.
Strally never ran pole runs, did he?
No.
He was always like, he would maybe cause us a 6 a.m.
I was going to say, he had to be attributed to the most 6 a.m.
campaign last summer, or his senior year, last fall, he he didn't have a great summer, and he came in the fall. We had to really build that guy back up. But, a few 6 a.m.s and a few track workouts, and I think they had to string their own rackets for a week, and then they got back to it.
Oh, I like to hear that. That's hilarious.
When they have to string their own rackets, they're definitely pushing the forehands a little bit and warm up, and then you got to make them hit it. Then they always, looking for a way to make it a little easier on themselves.
All right, here you go. So here's one. I need 3 simultaneous answers, no looking at each other. So I want to hear them all. Matt plays 1 set against the 7 current players and Jake. 8 matches. How many sets does he win? On 3, you're all going to answer. 1, 2, 3.
Every one of them.
3.
What did I hear?
Let that be on record that the assistant coach said he'd only win 3.
And what did Mag say?
I said 6.
Oh, 6. I knew Matt was going to be on that. That's awesome.
Yeah, Coach, I gotta ask, why all 7? You're hooking them. You're like, no matter what, I'm winning the ad point.
No, I mean, I don't know. I just believe in myself, I guess.
Start at the top.
He's an old man. He can't move. He knows it.
Yeah. Well, to be honest, Mags, I was going to preface it with, hey, it's only 1 set because there's no way you'd last 2. But
I could.
1 set. You didn't.
Do I get to space them out like once a week, or like what's the duration of this?
Yeah. To be fair,
now,
yeah.
ITA kickoff weekend, you got to play 7.
Cool.
It's you versus Diaz,
the boys
round.
are playing. I don't know. Honestly, the boys are playing really well right now. I don't know if I want to step out there and play a bunch of sets against those guys.
I'm not gonna lie, Coach. We got your answer.
Jake and I have been playing some doubles, and we're doing all right. So I'll step on the doubles court right now, but singles is gonna be tough.
Oh, that's funny. All right, well, I should say this question comes from Chris, but he asked me to ask it, so I will. So I hear you and Chris have gone on a few mountain bikes.
Yeah.
Word on the street is the old man whoops you.
No, I mean,
That was not what I said.
I hung in there pretty well. He's good. I mean, he does this like all the time. He's a triathlete. He's a marathon runner. He's a beast. I just like Josh at South Carolina. That guy's a beast on the mountain bike. I'm not at their level. Like I was recruiting in Switzerland one year, and Josh came over to the courts at like 11 a.m. and he had like, he was bleeding like all over his body. I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, oh man, we went mountain biking today. It was unreal. We were hitting all these jumps and I went over the handlebars, and like he just took it in stride. Now I'm not at that level. I think I'll just get out there here and there. Chris is he's a beast out there, so I'll give him the prize on that one.
Yeah, I tell you, there's one thing I would not want to be trying to race Matt in, and that is, man, if you're going like smooth, flowy, and fast, no chance I'm staying with him.
Yeah, I'm not great at climbing. I agree. Climbing's not fun.
No, that's the equivalent for you of a pole run, right?
Yeah,
I
think I pulled a hamstring trying to run a pole run a couple of years ago. I like 2 courts in, pulled a hammy. So.
No, that's so funny. All right, well then a couple more for you, and then I promise we'll let you guys go. Who replaces Nick as the best shopper on the team?
Nick is the best shopper, like at the malls.
Yeah.
You Mr. Stedman Strickland.
Yeah,
Oh.
Stedman's got some swag. He's got some swag. Yeah, he's got it. And Stedman's got the curls going again. We actually shaved his head last year. What was the deal? If we
won the SEC tournament, he had to shave his head. And he was glad.
And he looked great. Looked like a great young man. Now he's got these curls back. But we'll see. We'll find a way to shave his head again.
No, I love it. All right, you can guess who wrote this question, but who replaces Trevor now that he's gone as the new coach of Mississippi State?
I don't know. I got two good coaches right in front of me. I think one of these guys could be the next coach. They're both really good. Lucky to have these guys. That's for sure.
Yeah, no, I have to throw some blows. All right, well, you kind of skirted it, but I'm going to ask you one more time. I want the answer from all 3 of you. And Coach Roberts, you can go last, but expectations for this year's Mississippi State Bulldogs. What for each of the 3 of you, and don't cop out, I'm expecting some numbers in these answers, but constitutes a successful season for this year's Mississippi State team?
You're putting me on the spot here in front of these guys. I think from our results this fall, we've got a couple guys that could get in the rankings individually, but I think we can run with that to, try to make a run at the NCAA tournament, try to see if we can get to, I'd say, you want specifics. We can try
I see
to
Coach Roberts. I feel Coach Roberts' glare on you
There's
right
sign language all over the place.
Yeah, he's like
All right,
SEC champion.
Here are mine. Semifinals are better at the SEC tournament if we can do it. Okay. Then let's say round of 16 NCAAs. They're lofty goals, but I think it's possible.
I love it. I
like it.
Law of attraction, guys.
Yeah. What are you feeling? Let's go in the back. How are we feeling?
Noah?
Yeah, I'll go off of what Jake said. I think those are pretty realistic goals as long as we are controlling what we can control and just doing what we do day in and day out, holding each other accountable, bringing a lot of energy, everything that we focus on. I do think those are realistic goals, but again, it's just doing what we do best.
I love it. And then we'll end with you, Coach Roberts. How are you feeling? I know you gave us the answer before, but for this Mississippi State team, what do you want fans to take away from the experience of watching you guys play?
Well, it's just that we're going to compete every day as hard as we can. We're going to compete as a team, and we're going to just show our fans that we just love playing in front of them. To go back to your original question, it's like a nonstop, process of getting better, whether it's recruiting, your development, anything you can think of. It's just, we got to work every day. How can we get better? So we still have a few pieces that are out there that may fall our way when it comes to recruiting. We're getting to that signing period. So I think, that could affect us in a certain level. I think that's a small piece of the puzzle, so it's hard for me to say exactly where I think we're going to finish. But, I just think, you can't focus too much on the results. You just got to, love going to work with your team, and then you're winning right there. If you love to travel together, compete together, all those things, then you're winning right there. And it sounds cheesy, but that's what we believe in, and that's why I love working here. And who knows what's going to happen, man. It's going to be a fun season.
Absolutely, and that's why we look forward to watching you so much. Chris, any final thoughts you want to share with the coaches before you make your true plunge to Liberty?
We're a little premature there. No, I'm like I've told Matt, I'm looking forward to. I will be there for kickoff weekend, watching them play Georgia, and then hopefully the winner of South Carolina, Oklahoma after that, and I'm looking forward to seeing them, and I'm actually going to see several of the guys here in a couple weeks, so looking forward to that too. Great guys, and looking forward to a good year.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, with that in mind, then, Coach Roberts, Jake, Noah, thank you so much for taking the time to come on the Cracked Interviews podcast. Good luck to you and your team throughout the season. Again, if you're a fan of college tennis, there's no way you haven't been a fan of your Mississippi State Bulldogs these past couple of years. So enjoy the rebuild process, embrace all that comes with it, and we look forward to watching you guys and wish you success in 2020.
Thanks for having us, and thanks for everything you guys do for college tennis. Hail State.
Hail State.
I love it. Thanks, guys. Take care.